Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Second Nature English. This is your online English school, and today we have a very important quest, almost a boss fight, we would say. Now, today we're going to be taking a look at 20 tongue twisters. So, this is going to be like a lesson that you can follow along. We're going to be repeating the tongue twister 3 times each. And if you do have it with you, it would be recommended for you to also have something like this. This is a cork, okay? We are going to be using it to help us with articulation skills. So when we are going to be doing the tongue twisters, we're first going to say it holding nothing between our teeth. Then we're going to do 1 repetition with the cork. And then finally the 3rd repetition without the cork. This means that we are going to be repeating each tongue twister 3 times. Now, many of us sometimes can question the efficacy of tongue twisters. The reality is that tongue twisters are going to be difficult for anybody, basically. There are tongue twisters in all languages. There are tongue twisters in my first language, which is Brazilian Portuguese. And what they are doing here is really bringing to life the concept of transforming something into second nature. If you have been watching the videos, you've probably been familiarized with the concept that second nature is everything that we do repeatedly, so many times that when we do it, we don't think about it anymore. One of the examples of things that we do nowadays that pretty much are part of our second nature is how to tie our shoelaces, how to brush our teeth. So those are things that we do that after a while repeating these actions, we don't really need to think about them anymore. Now, in the case of articulation, the same is true. What we want to be able to do is think about the ideas that we are having in English and associate those ideas with automatic sounds. Sounds are pretty much things that we are going to be doing by forming shapes with our mouth and also using our breath to be able to say vowels, for example. And of course, if you want a more in-depth look at everything that is related to speaking, you can take our course, Speaking English Clearly, that will be released in June 2024. All right, are we ready? Are we ready? Now, let's get started then with our tongue twisters. Let's get started then with tongue twister number 1. We're going to start simple here. The first one that we're going to do is 6 sticky skeletons. Now, when I'm saying this pretty quickly, the sound of S that we have in the word 6 is going to basically mix with this from sticky. So we're going to say 6 sticky skeletons, and then we're going to repeat it 3 times. 6 sticky skeletons, 6 sticky skeletons, 6 sticky skeletons. Now, for our second roll, we're actually going to hold our cork between our teeth. This is going to be overstimulating, working a lot with the muscles of our articulation. So we're going to do 6 sticky skeletons, 6 sticky skeletons, 6 sticky skeletons. And then you're going to remove and do it one more time. 6 sticky skeletons, 6 sticky skeletons, 6 sticky skeletons. Now, let's go to the next one, number 2. Now, the second one we have 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants. We're going to repeat it 3 times, just like the one before. So now we're going to do it holding the cork between our teeth. 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants. Now without the cork. 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants, 11 benevolent elephants. Ooh, this was just 2. We're going to 20. This is longer than Elden Ring. Now let's go into the next one. We have number 3. All right, for number 3, since we have a longer one, we don't necessarily need to repeat it 3 times every time. Only the ones that are shorter, usually we have 3 words for those tongue twisters. Those we're going to repeat 3 times. In this case, and this is also one of the most challenging tongue twisters that we have, which is English can be understood through tough, thorough thought, though. In this case here, what we are doing is that we're starting to learn to associate what we see with the different sounds that we can make and not necessarily trying to sort and figure out which word is which. So in this case here, English can be understood through tough, thorough, thought, though. This is also going to help a lot of students who still struggle a little bit with pronouncing the word think when they're actually saying the word think. So they say, oh, I think that it's very important to do this. But then in this case, we are missing the tongue, right? This type of phoneme in the English language is a dental phoneme, which means that we are going to be basically using to do. It can be quite tough for us to get that automatic control of it, but it's very important for us to keep on trying. So let's try to say it one more. Well, let's go into our time that we are holding it with the cork between our teeth. English can be understood through tough, thorough, thought, though. All of those can be quite tough. And then the third time, English can be understood through tough, thorough thought, though. And that was number 3. Let's take a look now at number 4. And now this one, number 4, also quite important for us into when we think about the pronunciation of those dental phonemes when we have as opposed to. So is our sound of F. That's the shape of the F. In the TH, we're going to have. It can help if we extend the corner of the lips a little bit to make sure that we have that positioning appropriately placed. So we're going to pronounce this one 3 times. 3 free throws, 3 free throws, 3 free throws. You can do that with the cork. 3 free throws, 3 free throws, 3 free throws. And you're also going to start to feel some weirdness and when you're trying to do that R for those, but that's another tongue twister that we have to practice. Now let's take a look at number 5. Number 5, now we have truly rural, purely plural. Truly rural, purely plural. Truly rural, purely plural. Let's try with the cork. Truly rural, purely plural. 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 And then you can, as you more progressively and intentionally learn to make those movements, you can then start incorporating a little bit more of speed. That was number 5. Let's take a look at our 6th tongue twisters that we have for today. Then this is one of my favorite ones. It mixes quite different phonemes and quite different movements that we need to make. We don't necessarily need to repeat it 3 times because it's quite of a long tongue twister. So there we have. She stood on a balcony, inexplicably mimicking him hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in. Now let's try it with the cork. She stood on a balcony, inexplicably mimicking him hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in. And then without. She stood on a balcony, inexplicably mimicking him hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in. And this is our 6th tongue twister. We're almost getting in the 50% mark. Let's take a look at number 7. So number 7 is a tongue twister that helps us start to identify that depending on the position of a certain sound in a sentence, we can pretty much guess the function that the word has. And then we're going to manipulate how we use our stress, how we use our length, and all of those characteristics of the sound to make sure that we are pronouncing things in a way that is clear to the listener. So here we have, imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie. We use it with the cork. Imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie. And then once again, without the cork, imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie. This one can have quite a lot of movement into that. So let's go into the next one that we have, our eighth tongue twister. This one is going to help you with the sound of s, ch, sh, because they can be quite difficult for us to pronounce, especially for some of the languages that don't really have some of these phonemes in their structure. Namely, one of the examples are Vietnamese speakers. They usually tend to struggle a little bit in the beginning of their speaking journey with sounds like s, sh, etc. So this tongue twister is going to be super, super important. And in this one, we have, which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? Which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? So you can use that with the cork. Which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? Which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? And for this reasonably a little bit longer ones, you can do them twice. And then one more time without the cork. Which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? Which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches? And that was number 8. Now let's take a look our number 9. Let's take a look at our number 9. So this one can be particularly relevant for those of us who speak Spanish as the first language, because a lot of times the Y can be pronounced as a J. So there may be some people who are going to pronounce the sound of New York instead of New York. So we can concentrate our attention in the corner of the lips here when we are going to say, I like New York, unique New York, I like unique New York. I like New York, unique New York, I like unique New York. Once again, we have the cork. I like New York, unique New York, I like unique New York. I like New York, unique New York, I like unique New York. And then, again, out. I like New York, unique New York, I like unique New York. That was our number 9. So now let's take a look at number 10. Once we get to 50%, halfway through, we're getting there. Now, number 10 that we have is, I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she shines, she sits, and where she sits, she shines. Let's try to do it with our cork. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she shines, she sits, and where she sits, she shines. And then once again, I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she shines, she sits, and where she sits, she shines. That was number 10. That's 50% of our quest. We're getting there. We're so close. Let's get to number 11. So here we go. Number 11 is considered to be, according to some research that I've done recently, one of the most difficult tongue twisters to pronounce. I do believe this is going to be particularly difficult for speakers of Brazilian Portuguese, for example, because there is a perception of syllables in Brazilian Portuguese that dictate that there's always a vowel sound associated with a consonant. So a Brazilian Portuguese speaker would read number 11 as Pede, kid, porde, corde, polde, code. Just because they would have that E at the end associated with it. But in the English language, when we think about a syllable, we're thinking that it has an onset, a consonant sound or shape that starts the vowel sound, and then another consonant that finishes that vowel sound. Which means that the consonants that are after the vowel, they're just a way to finish the sound before, not to start a sound after. So we would say, Pad, kid, pour, curd, pull, cod. Pad, kid, pour, curl, pull, cod. Pad, kid, pour, curl, pull, cod. Which can be difficult for us to pronounce first, because we really do need to think that there is not going to be padgy, kiji, porgy, or anything like that. There's no extra sound to that. So I have pad. And then this d at the end is just the tongue, this area of the tongue touching the alveolar ridge and the roof of the mouth. So this one, we can go ahead, try to do it with our cork. Packet, pour, curd, pull, cod. Packet, pour, curd, pull, cod. Packet, pour, curd, pull, cod. So quite different sounds of vowels that we have to pronounce with this one, but another tongue twister, another one bites the dust. Let's take a look now at number 12. So number 12, we have Specifically specific Pacific Ocean. Specifically specific Pacific Ocean. Specifically specific Pacific Ocean. Now, for this one, what is interesting for us to pay attention to is that when we take a look at Pacific Ocean, we have there 3 different seas. Same letter, but then each one of them is pronounced differently. They have a different sound associated with them. So the first one, s, the second one, k, the third one, sh. And then the other sounds that we have is there are a lot of s, s, s. Specifically specific Pacific Ocean. So with the quirk, specifically specific Pacific Ocean. Specifically specific Pacific Ocean. Now you notice that when I'm using the cork here, I'm trying to just hold it between your teeth and articulate the word with my lips around the cork, which will bring more clarity to my speech when I say specifically specific Pacific Ocean. Now let's take a look at number 13. So for number 13, we have a box of biscuits, a box of mixed biscuits, and a biscuit mixer. So we don't necessarily need to repeat it 3 times, but let's do it one more time just in case. A box of biscuits, a box of mixed biscuits, and a biscuit mixer. Did I do it wrong? Let's do it one more time. A box of biscuits, a box of mixed biscuits, and a biscuit mixer. Yes, I think I was right. I think I have somewhere I put the off in a different location and I got myself confused. But then again, let's go over the cork. A box of biscuits, a box of mixed biscuits, and a biscuit mixer. A box of biscuits, a box of mixed biscuits, and a biscuit mixer. That is number 13. We can see the victory. We're almost there. We're going to number 14 now. Our tongue twister number 14 is the fast thief flash fired thick fish. The fast thief flash fired thick fish. So once again, we can get the cork. The fast thief flash fired thick fish. The fast thief flash fired thick fish. The fast thief flash fired thick fish. And that's number 14. This is another one that is going to really help us with the versus. Take a look then. Number 15. Number 15 is a short one. It's just something just to get us started with the last 5 tongue twisters because we're getting to the end of it all. So number 15, we have bluebird. Now in this case, it's important for us to notice how long and short the sounds of vowels can be depending on the position of the word and also how the word is built. So the first one is just blue. So that's a longer sound that we're going to make. Now the second blue, because we're talking about a compound word, so we have 2 words built and transforming themselves into one, that blue in bluebird is going to be a shorter sound. So we're going to do bluebird, bluebird, bluebird. So this way we can identify those longer sounds of vowels a lot more accurately. So we can do bluebird, bluebird, without bluebird, bluebird. All right, number 15. We are almost there. Are you with me? Thank you for staying so far. You are doing great. We're almost done. This is number 16. For number 16, we have brisk, brave brigadiers, brandished broad, bright blades, blunderbusses, and bludgeons, balancing them badly. So a lot of b, which is a bilabial plosive voiced sounds. Now, using our cork, brisk, brave brigadiers, brandished broad, bright blades, blunderbusses, and bludgeons, balancing them badly. Brisk, brave brigadiers, brandished broad, bright blades, blunderbusses, and bludgeons, balancing them badly. Nice. Very dramatic in this one. As we start to get to the end of our tongue twisters, now we have number 17. Number 17 also talks about, pretty much focuses on the idea that depending on the position and how long and the stress that we give to a word, even though they can have very, very similar sounds, I could precisely identify the position and their separation. So for number 17, we have, can you can a can as a canner can a can? Now we're going to finish as a rising intonation for a question, and then we're also making different variations of length, stress, and also how we are doing our pronunciation, also our intonation pattern. So let's try it one more time. Can you can a can as a canner can a can? Now we're going to do it with the cork. Can you can a can as a canner can a can? Can you can a can as a canner can a can? That's number 17, talking specifically about some of the features of the English language, namely that we have stress, length, and also pitch. Now let's take a look at number 18. We're almost there. Can you feel the victory? I should start putting like some of the Elden Ring failed or enemy destroyed after we're done with our quests. We are close. We are almost there. This is number 18. A tutor who toots the flute tried to tutor two tutors to toot. Said the two to their tutor, is it harder to toot or to tutor two tutors to toot? Now, this here, when you talk about the two, and two, in this particular case, we have the tongue, this part of the tongue here, touching the alveolar ridge. The alveolar ridge, it's kind of a little bump like this that you can feel just behind your upper teeth. So I'm going to try that with the cork. A tutor who toots the flute tried to tutor two tutors to toot. Said the two to their tutor, is it harder to toot or to tutor two tutors to toot? A tutor who toots the flute tried to tutor two tutors to toot. Said their two to their tutor, is it harder to toot or to tutor two tutors to toot? This was a hard one for me today for some reason, but that is number 18. Let's take a look now at number 19. Okay, so number 19 is going to have a mix of the sounds of L and W in terms of the movement. And then it's interesting to see how people from different, with different accents in the English language can pronounce some of these tongue twisters a little bit differently. So for myself, especially when I say the word wet, I would say wetter. I wouldn't say wetter, because for me, wetter, they do mix too much. So in order for me to create differentiation between the sounds, I prefer to pronounce wetter when it comes to the wet, which is somewhat more associated with British types of accents. So let's take a look at number 19. Lesser leather never weathered wetter weather better. Lesser leather never weathered wetter weather better. And then with the cork. Lesser leather never weathered wetter weather better. Lesser leather never weathered wetter weather better. And then without. Lesser leather never weathered wetter weather better. We have for number 19. And now, drum roll. For the last one, many of you would think that is Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. A pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. But no. Still can do that one, but for our number 20, we have one that mixes a little bit more all the concepts of speaking, thinking about prosody in a way that we are controlling our pitch, we are controlling intonation, we are controlling different parts of the characteristics of spoken language to do this one. We also have very, very nice sounds that are important for us to learn to pronounce properly. So we have for number 20, to sit in solemn silence in a dull dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. Let's try with the cork. To sit in solemn silence in a dull dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. To sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. That's it. That's number 20. Those are 20 total tongue twisters that we have just conquered. We're done. Enemy failed. I really want to put that animation here at some point for all of these. So what you can do is pretty much revisit this video at least 2 or 3 times a week. And also you can concentrate on those phonemes that can be a little bit more difficult for you to be precise when you're speaking. Don't forget also to record yourself, just speaking, possibly just talking about yourself when you first start to work with the tongue twisters, and then every 2 or 3 weeks, create a new recording so you can pay attention to the changes that are going to be happening to your voice and the clarity of your speech as you speak. I am going to be posting on the channel also a video with some articulator exercises, more for you to be able to stretch the muscles, make sure they everything that is related to the flexibility of the tongue. All of those are other components that are definitely going to help you achieve the level of fluency and proficiency that you are looking for. Now, congratulations everybody for finishing this task. Thank you for watching until the end. A round of applause. Congratulations. You are all done with your tongue twisters. Thank you so much for being here with the channel. Please feel free to comment with what you thought about the video, other videos that you're interested in watching. And thank you so much for being here with Second Nature English. I'll be seeing you very, very soon. We have a stream that is already scheduled, so we can take a look at that and other videos in the channel as well. I cannot wait to bring you another video with another quest in a way for you to pretty much perfect your English as much as you would like. This was Teacher Leo. Thank you so much for watching the video once again, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.